Nolan King here for MMA Junkie, and I'm being joined by Slippery Pete himself, UFC lightweight Peter Barrett. Peter, how are you doing, my man?
Great, man. How's everything?
Hanging in there, hanging in there. And kind of miserable. It's snowing here in New England. I don't know if you guys got hit too, but
Yeah, we got a couple inches. It's starting to melt now, but it was a little bit of a shock when my girlfriend told me last night that we're getting
yeah,
snow overnight. So I was like, man, this is the latest it's been in a while. So
it's April. It's not supposed to be doing this anymore, but
no, it was like maybe like 15 years ago we got that big blizzard on April 1st, and like that's the latest I think it's ever snowed around here until
yeah,
today.
yeah. Just it's just in line with the times, man. It's quarantine is in full effect, and I guess how has it impacted you? I hear you got a little training facility set up in your basement.
Yeah, so it's been super interesting because I scrambled to make a little training facility here, and it was here. I'm gonna give a flip real quick if it'll load through. Yeah, so that's my Rogue setup. That's my heavy bag, and I've got an Echo bike over there. The owner Cage Titans dropped off some mats for me. So it's been interesting to the fact where um, I have to be very careful about who I cross train with. My girlfriend works at a trauma hospital in Boston, so she's exposed to this whole corona mess every day. Um, so I can't just have, like a revolving door training partners come in and out of the house. And so that was a hurdle in its own right to make sure we were doing everything right to keep everybody protected and to make sure everybody feels like like they're aware of the situation when they were coming in to train with me. But now that the fight's been pushed back, I told my girl that I would voluntarily go back into isolation and go back onto the solo squad. So it's been a lot of weights, a lot of heavy bag, and a lot of cycling. But it's been a trip to see what I'm capable of doing on my own.
Yeah, and I know you were scheduled to fight in Lincoln, and that obviously is not going to happen. Have you still been prepping for a fight? I know your opponent was international, so it's not like that's even who you're going to fight necessarily if you were to get a quick turnaround. But are you still preparing as if you're going to get that call tomorrow?
Um, no. I've been training. I've been staying on it. I've got a new program coming from my strength and conditioning coach to keep me in a maintenance phase. Um, but training for a fight under these conditions isn't right. And where I am in a unique situation where I live with a first responder, again, any adult can make that decision to come into my house to train with me. But it's just like, at what point is that a cost benefit analysis where someone could go home and get their mom sick, and we
Right.
would know if it came out of my house or not, and that would just be something terrible uh, to comprehend or to even like grasp your head around. If like there's a chance that me being selfish about wanting to train got one of my training partners' grandparents sick or something like that would be just horrible. So it's like I've been back in isolation mode. I've been pushing it on the weights, pushing it on the bike, making sure I'm getting some work in every day. But as far as prepping for a fight, I think uh, I think it's best to maybe just settle down until this all clears up and we can get some mat time. With dedicated training partners where there isn't this whole hysteria about getting people sick or passing this virus to someone else.
And I only ask you this because I know you've been very open with me in the past about this, and we've talked in depth. But the anxiety that comes along with your situation of not being able to fight and just this whole quarantining. I mean, has it been tough at all to deal with? Is it something that's the mental side of what you do has it been a challenge?
Oh, dude, let me turn my head around so you can look me in the eyes. But yeah, this sucks. This is hard. I mean, it is what you make of it, and like knowing that it is what you make of it just makes it that much worse. Like if I'm having a tough day, being bummed about being stuck in my house, not being able to do what I love to do, you know, and maybe I let that get in my head too long and I don't get down to the basement to train that day. That's a tough day because you feel guilty for not training, and then you get into this like terrible cycle of like negative self-talk, like you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, how dare you, like it's your job to stay in shape. But part of this sport is like being with your team and being with your brothers and your sisters that sweat and bleed with you every day on the mat, and you don't get that anymore. And there's no social aspect of being in quarantine. It's me, my dog, and my girl, and we're stuck in the house. And yeah, I'm trying to get her to learn jujitsu, but it's like she's so busy with work that it's just silly to even try to be, that's like a selfish grasp at me to try to get her involved into my training. You know what I mean? So like, it's just a wild time to be training, and it was a really wild time to be training for a fight, knowing that like my partner could have, in my head it was always my partner's not listening to what they're telling him. He's saying, fuck you. I want to train. I'm going to be at my coach's house every day with 4 or 5 guys, or I'm going to have 4 or 5 guys in my living room. And we're going to be doing jujitsu every day. Like, those are the things that I have to take into consideration. So it's a mental battle. Like, I take my hat off to guys like Calvin, who is like, I mean, every fight in the UFC should be the toughest fight of your life, but you know, he's cracked into the top 10. He's fighting Jeremy Stevens. He was slated for 249. Now he's on May 9th. Like, that takes some fucking scrotal fortitude to get through stuff like that. And you need a very strong will. You need to be very disciplined. And I'm not saying that I don't have those things, but it took a lot out of me to get to that place, to make that, you know, to accept the situation that I was in and make the best of it. So it's crazy.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm not sure if you were on the Dana White call yesterday, but talking to a lot of people that were on the call, and it seems to me that the sentiment that he expressed was, you know, if you don't want to fight, don't feel any pressure to do so. That they won't ask any further questions or hold it against you. So was that kind of nice to hear that there wasn't going to be any external pressure from you know, your bosses, so to speak?
Well, I mean, yes, yeah, it is. I honestly, there was a call scheduled yesterday and then 2 more on Monday. And when I realized what time it was, I missed the beginning of the call. So I didn't think I should. I didn't know if I was, whatever. I didn't tune in to get the end of the call. But I did get, you know, like the TV guide version of what went down. So yeah, I mean, that is awesome. What would be really awesome is if they talked about some form of compensation for the what's that, 12 fights, 10 fight, 10, 20, 40 guys that were getting ready to fight up until a week before 249 got canceled. You know, we all had contracts for dates signed. We were putting the work in. We were, you know, sacrificing relationships. We were telling the government, our local municipalities, whatever, you know, to screw off. We were still training. We were still getting outside, still doing road work. You know, a lot of guys are probably still training in small groups behind closed doors. Like, obviously, me being a, you know, a debuting UFC guy, my voice doesn't carry much weight, but I think compensation for those 2 cards needs to be a conversation, you know, and not just push the fights off to a later date. Like, we signed contracts for the 19th, and we signed contracts for, or the 249 and ESPN 31. Those 2 cards, like, we were training until last week. We were getting ready for a fight until last week. We were sucking weight until last week. You know, like, it's just, you know, those are the things that I hope come up maybe on the Monday calls. But yeah, it's nice to know that there's no pressure to continue on to try to make a fight that was scheduled in the last 2. But like, I've been waiting 8 months to fight. You know, I fought in August. It was going to be another year layoff before I fight again.
Right. And you were healthy throughout that whole thing, right?
I've been healthy the whole time, you know,
Right.
and I'm not like talking shit about not getting the matchup, because, you know,
Sure.
the one thing that they said back to us was, you know, we want to get you a good fight out the gate. We're not going to feed you up to someone, you know, ranked. We're not going to throw you into the wolves. We're going to get you nice. If you stay patient, we'll get you a good fight. The fight on paper that I had lined up for the 25th was a barn burner. You know, I think that was a good fight for the fans. That was a good fight for both of us. It was a good fight for the business. You know, it was definitely going to be an entertaining fight. So I would love to fight him, you know, however, wherever the chips fall. But, you know, it's like, I'm like, I don't know. It's tough because it's my job to be in shape. It's my job to be ready to fight. But there's a whole lot of shit going on right now that's making it really difficult to stay in that position. And like, to be honest, like, I keep thinking back to the book Relentless that Tim Grover wrote, and he was like talking about the NBA players not training during a lockout. Like, and I'm trying to put myself in that situation. Like, it's my job to be in shape. Like, I should stay ready, but it's not that there's just a lockout. Like, we're in quarantine and no one's supposed to be leaving their houses. So like, it's just a really interesting time to be prepping for a fight, to be thinking to get ready for a fight. Like, Kama Worthy put up a post yesterday, Flow Combat shared it. Like, I reposted it saying, like, someone's deflecting. Like, you're going to tell me that because we're in the UFC, we should be ready to take a fight on moment's notice with no training partners? Like, you're out of your damn mind, bro. Like, MMA is a solo sport to the public eye, but it's one of the biggest team sports behind the scenes. Like, I don't have my guys with me. I don't have my coaches with me. I don't have my trainers with me. No one's training together. Everybody's getting together to play PlayStation 3 together. Nobody's doing jiu-jitsu together. Nobody's getting, you know, rounds on the wall. No one's getting rounds on the cage. There is no cage. Like, it's just as you can tell, I've been having an issue like mentally staying in this game with it, but like it's just a really, really tough time to comprehend. Like you're supposed to think that you're going to be prepared to go fight another individual without really sparring or getting good jiu-jitsu rounds for the last 8 weeks.
Right.
Like,
there are repercussions that come from taking these losses.
And we're trying to build the UFC is a sport. It's not a blood sport anymore, right? So you want to treat us like athletes and treat us like athletes. And everybody, and I put this on my Twitter, like, oh, fighters fight. Yeah. You know, if you want to go slam a couple pints at the bar and go get in a bar fight for 30 seconds, by all means, fighters fight. But we're high level athletes. You know, we should be treated the way you treat guys in the NFL, the way the guys in the NHL, the way the guys in the MLB, every other pro athlete is treated. If they're not training with their team for 6 to 8 weeks, you're not going to throw the Patriots starting 11 on the front line and say, go play a game. You guys know the sport of football. You're going to no one's going to stand up. No one's going to allow something like that to happen. So to see it happening in MMA is just kind of ridiculous, especially where we're trying to get established as like a major league sport. Like treat us like major league athletes. Expect us to perform when the situations are right. Like, yeah, everybody stay in shape. Nobody get fat. Don't sit in your basement in a corner eating Twinkies and ho-hos. But like to expect guys to be fight ready under this condition, like it's just ridiculous. And like Khabib's like the only big name that really went on the public line to advocate for it after being dicked around for 3 weeks, 4 weeks about not knowing where he was going to fight. You know, like if more guys at the top came out with that sentiment, I think lower guys would feel better about feeling that way. But I think everybody's afraid to publicly voice their opinions about it.
Yeah, for sure, man. Yeah, I think maybe the behind the scenes stuff is a little bit different than maybe some of the fighters that come out and say that they'll fight. So I think you're right on the money there. But whenever it is that you step in the cage for your UFC debut, man, I'm looking forward to it, and I really appreciate the time as always, Pete.
Oh yeah, man, there'll be a big chip on my shoulder when I finally get in there. After getting through all this shit and just like getting that stress off my soul, like I can't wait I just can't wait for the gyms to be open, man, and to smile and hang out with my homies, do jiu-jitsu and like punch my friends in the face.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, have a good one, Nolan.